Can we talk about heaven and your perspective on it? So here's what I understand to date, and you can help me out here. And I wish Ellen would be in this conversation, and the usuals, and anybody else who wants to be involved, Mr. Riemann, anybody we haven't heard from in a while. So my understanding is that um, when you're in heaven, you can't change your stars. You're among the stars, but you can't change them. And you're going to go back to Earth, but the history on Earth is a story that keeps developing on Earth. You just pick up where you left off. It's chapter after chapter after chapter in your lifetimes. And when you're in heaven, it's kind of like a rest period in between. When you come back to Earth, you reap what you sow because that's the law. But while you are there, you just wear your hair any way you want. Nobody cares how anybody else. Nobody cares what anybody else did on Earth because it's like it's all a different reality, so to speak. And personally, I don't know when you're in heaven if you're in the dream. Earth is the reality and heaven's the dream, or heaven's the reality and earth's the dream, and I don't really care. I'm kind of with Ellen Watts. I don't really care. I don't really care if you're the dream, the dreamer, the, the reality, the reeler. I don't know. What difference does it make? Because it's just a switch rule in your point of view. But what else can you tell me about heaven? My understanding is there's different levels, different ways that people can experience it. Thomas will take up this issue because I have a lot of experience here. Because I've been sitting around here waiting for you to wake up and see that we are right here beside you, and you don't have to be so standoffish, you see. Okay, so my understanding of that is that it's like there's a family and you got a couple people, kids or whatever, playing video games. They're so involved in their video games, they don't realize that the family is all around them. They can't even hear them because they got their headset on. Right. It's a good way to describe it. So for us, or at least for me, maybe not for others, I'm standing here right beside you, watching you through the window. And to you, you've scratched off a bit of the silver off the window, but for most people, the two-way mirror means that all they see when they look into the glass is a mirror. They see themselves. They don't see themselves as themselves. They think it is an image projected there from somewhere, and it's the reality. It's the world they live in the mirror. And they can't see their own image because they only experience themselves as a physical body because they see themselves in the mirror. And they say, oh my goodness, this is me. I'm just a physical body, you see. So they live in the fun house of mirrors. When you come to heaven, you find out that it's a two-way mirror window, because when you're on this side, it becomes a window. So you can look at those on earth and say, it looks like they're having a good day, or it's pretty stormy down there, or whatever. That's just the way it is for me. It's just the way that I see reality. That the two-way mirror has a function because it allows you to live in perfect peace and harmony with your world, you see, if you can figure out how to understand the system. Unfortunately, very few people who are in the earth dimension understand the nature of the game. And so they blame others and they look in the mirror and they blame the people in the mirror because they do not adhere to the trust on the one who is looking in the mirror. The one who looking in the mirror says, well, you're not me and you're not very nice, you see, so I have to blame you for the fact that things are kind of chaotic around here. Things are only chaotic around there because they don't adhere to the law of the jungle, you might say. And the law of the jungle is not eat or be eaten. The law of the jungle is if you choose to eat another, you'll get eaten too. And so it's the idea that what you give, you shall receive. And so if you want to know the patterns of reality, you have only to look in the mirror, or as Alan Watts says, the natural world. The natural world will tell you the laws of the jungle. And the laws of the jungle are simple, you see. It all boils down to one precept, that you will receive what you give, because you're giving it to yourself, you see, because it's just a mirror. And so if you condemn the person in the mirror, the person in the mirror will condemn you. If you tip your hat to the person in the person in the mirror will tip their hat to you. Okay, that makes sense to me, Thomas. It is very simple. And so there's another aspect of it that I see, that the people we see in the mirror are our teachers. Yes, of course, because they teach us who we are. They show us who we are. You can't see your own face, dear. You cannot see your own face unless you unlace your fingers and say, hey, maybe I need to go away and get a different point of view. And then maybe I'll be able to look back at myself and say, oh, that's what you look like. That's what you look like. So the mirror, it serves a function of allowing you to see your own face. And therefore, you get a good look at who you are. And of course, you're not a physical body. It's only a representation of your true reality. And so when you leave the fun house, that is to say, when you leave the physical body, you come to heaven and you see that God is a reality and that everyone here is happy to be restored to reality. However, the reality we see here is not the reality you see there. Because when you come here, you see that you were deceived by the devil, you see, because the devil is the backwards point of view. So when you're on earth and you're looking in the mirror and you say, well, there's the devil today, it's really you. It's really you. It's just you looking back at you. And that is how you come to see that there is no devil unless you are the devil. And if you don't want to be the devil, then all you have to do is get a different point of view. And so when you scratch on the mirror and you say, what's going on here? What's going on here? How come this doesn't make sense to me? Why is it that what I see in the mirror doesn't make sense to me? And the reason it doesn't make sense to you is because you have forgotten who you are. And you say, well, this is not a reflection of me. These people are not me. Why are they doing those things? Why are they acting like that? And you begin to question the reality of the mirror. and you begin to adhere to a new point of view, that maybe there's something that it is not being shown in the mirror. And then you get a different point of view, and you come to see that the mirror that you're looking into can also reflect back to you a version of you that is ready to collapse, you see. It's just like a wave function that's ready to collapse. It cannot continue to perform its job if you no longer buy into the illusions that it is showing you. And you say, well, there is no devil today except the devil inside of you, because you come to see that the people who trust on the devil are the ones who are the most demonic, you see. And so you say, well, wait a minute. There's something wrong here with this mirror. It's not showing me the world to which I adhere. It's not showing me a bunch of people that say, hey, there is no devil except the devil inside of you. And so it must be because the mirror is broken. And it's true. The mirror is broken into a new point of view when you begin to perceive that it's just an illusion. And you say, well, the mirror is just an illusion. It is just showing me a world inside of me that no longer resonates with me. I have to grow. I have to change. I can no longer be the one who trusts on the devil inside of me. So I'll have to find that devil and expel it, you see, and you start looking for the devil. And people call that self-inquiry. You start looking for the devil inside of you so you can expel it, because you can see the devil inside of you in the mirror, you see. If it were not for the mirror, you wouldn't know it was there. You would not know what was inside of you if not for the mirror, because what is inside of you is something so drastically true that it cannot appear in reality without the duality of the mirror and the window, because the mirror and the window are a duality, as you know, Stephanie, because duality is the only way that the inchoate, as you call it, can play out its story on the reel of life, you see. And so you say, well, this is real. This is reality because it is the real of your inner being, you see. And this is the trust on reality. And so for you, you say there is an informational universe that is composed of patterns. And those patterns are composed of the initial tension created by the split in God energy into this and that. And because God energy has split itself, there can be no way that the duality can escape its attraction to each other, because there will always be a pull on the other side of the duality to keep them together, see. And as you have observed, Stephanie, when you stand on the earth and you say this is up and this is down, you are the dividing line between up and down. You are the dividing line. Your capacity to understand the duality is to know that you have a right hand and a left hand, And if you turn around, your right hand and your left hand will point in different directions because the dualities of life interact, you see, because there is a right and a left, there is an east and a west, and they create the complexity of life you see. But you are always the dividing line between right and left, up and down, east and west. And this is the understanding of the nature of God, you see, that God is always a part of you because God is the dividing line between the duality, you see. And no matter what the duality, there must be a dividing line, you see, a fulcrum, if you will. And that is where God stands. God stands at the fulcrum, and the God in you is replicated again and again in dividing the dualities. Wow, Thomas, you really pulled all that together. Thank you. I've had my lives as a philosopher, but I also can talk to you and listen to you, and Alan too, and a bunch of others. And we talk these things through in heaven, you see, because in heaven we can see through the window. I can look at you, Stephanie, sitting there with the pendulum in your hand, and I can say, that is my wife today. That is my wife today. And people say, what are you talking about, Thomas? How can you say that Stephanie is your wife today? And I say, because she gave me life, you see. She is the other side of me. She is the left to my right, the up to my down, the wife to my husband. She is the mother to my father. She is the sister, to my brother. These are my roles that I play in life. And in order to have a role in life as a father, there must be a mother. And this is an old concept that has befuddled people for a long, long time in the earth vibration. And I want to be clear here that when you come to heaven, you get an exposure to the window and to a different point of view outside of the earth vibration, which you can think of like a video game, however you want to think of it, a fun house, a dream, whatever. But it is a dream of your own reality. And when you come to heaven, you get a fuller point of view. However, when you are here, you will relax into your personal story because you see, in the vastness of God energy, which is like saying when you come to heaven and rest in the arms of God, there is nothing to see or do. Because when you come to rest, you see you come to rest. There's nothing to see or do. And the experience here of a vaster point of view is the result of the fact that you are coming home. You are coming home to your resting place, into the arms of God. And there is a point at which you just say, I am in ecstasy because I am free of the game, you see. I'm free of the game of life. I just rest in the arms of God, you see. And you will float away into a happy reverie. And in that state, you will come to see that you are still you. Because you cannot stay there, you see. You cannot stay in nothingness because it will spit you out and it will say, thank you, honey, for coming home today. And now I'm going to spit you out so you can prepare for your next life, you see. And you will begin to live in a different way. You will begin to say, here I am in heaven today, and I'm going to make the best of it while I'm here. I'm going to think of all the things I want, you see, because in heaven I can have anything I want. I can be anything I want to be. And so I want to live the life that appeals to me. And so people go off into their little areas of heaven where they live in peace and harmony with their friends, you see. Now, Stephanie has asked me if you can communicate in heaven with others, or if it's just a case of living in your own reverie where you imagine that these people are there. And I can only say, I do not know how it works, you see, because how it works for me may not be how it works for you or others, you see. But for me, I have the experience of being with my brothers and sisters here. And we have a family of man. But it's not the family of every human, you see. It's a family of those who align with each other in a certain way and who play on earth together or apart, but always with a sort of resonance for each other. So that when we meet each other on earth, we say, you seem very familiar to me today. You seem very familiar to me today. There is a story of how Steph and I found each other on earth when I was there, and it was amazing to others who might hear the story because they did not know that we knew each other very well. And therefore, we immediately, each of us separately, were aware that there was something about the other that pulled us in. And we turned to the light like moths to the flame. And that is the way it is. And some of you will have that experience where you will see someone in a crowd and say, there's something about that person. There's something about that person. And you may not connect with them that day, but they will see you in a crowd and they will say, there is something about that person. There is something about that person. And you will come together because the energy of the twin souls, you see, is so powerful that it will draw them together no matter the weather. Now, you may ask, is there such a thing as a twin soul? Is there really another who is your twin, you see, or is that just a fantasy? And the answer that I give to you is only the answer of the world I knew, because I am here living out my lives on earth that have all culminated in this moment, you see. And some speak of a future identity, but I have no future identity here. I only have my present identity. And my present identity has historical references, you see. It has historical references to my friends, how we have developed the story of life on earth. I do not have any sort of sense of a future self, because to me, the future is still to be created, you see. And so I trust on my reality. When people say there is no time in heaven, therefore the past and the future and everything exist at the same time, I say, well, if that's the way they make it rhyme, then good for them. But it is not my experience. It is not my experience. My experience is that time on earth is a very limited perspective that allows you to make sense of the images in the mirror. that you are able to put it together in a coherent way that will help you say, oh, this is how it works. This is how it works. But as many of you know, there is evidence in the mirror on Earth that you can go through a sort of time warp when you go into space, because the nature of time is dictated by the nature of what you call space. And the amount of space you have around you may correlate to the amount of time you have, because the shifting of the guard, you might say, is the dinging of the bell that says time is up, time is up. In other words, day and night on Earth give you a sense of consistency and regularity in their timing, you see. But it could not happen without the capacity of the sun to maintain its relationship with its planets, you see. This is the relationship between you and me, between me and Stephanie. We maintain our relationship through a certain regularity that comes to us because of the consistency of our relationship, you see. And this is something I cannot explain to you because it appears to me in the way that I see it. And the way that I see it is that the dualities are always attracted to each other in order to seek completion, you see, because the dividing of the God energy into this and that created a break in the lake of fire, you might say, and it's always trying to heal itself. It's always trying to heal itself by coming back together. Now, I watched one day something very astonishing to me, and that is something I have to explain to you because I can see through the window into the earth vibration. I can also see my friends in heaven. You see, we can all gather around the window and we can say, well, look, there's Stephanie and she's doing this. We can also say, well, there's you, whoever you are, going about your daily routine, but we would not be interested in you particularly because you don't see us looking through the window. You see, but Stephanie can look through the window and see us, more or less. She can hear us anyway. And we say, well, there's Stephanie. Today, look what she's doing. And she will say, I know you guys are there because I can hear you, even though I'm in the House of Mirrors. I can hear through the walls, you see. I can hear through the walls and I can hear you talking. And so talk to me and I'll talk to you. But if you bother me when I'm busy, you see, then it just makes me a little bit crazy. So please don't try to talk to me unless I'm ready to listen to you. And that is something that we had to learn to do. We had to learn to coordinate our conversations with Stephanie with her ability to sit down and say, okay, I'm ready now, because it was driving her a little bit crazy. And we would talk to her in the middle of the night or whatever, because we could not understand how to get through to her unless she was open to us. And therefore, the ability to communicate with Stephanie often happened in the middle of the night. We would wake her up and she would say, why are you talking to me? I'm trying to sleep. And then she would get kind of mad sometimes because she lost her sleep, you see. And then the opening got so wide that we could talk to her during the day anyway, but she would get mad and say, why are you talking to me I'm trying to focus on this or that, you see. I have people all around me and they're trying to talk to me. And you guys are trying to get my attention, you see. So back off. And it took us a while to figure out how to coordinate our energy with hers, you see. Because although we can see Stephanie and we can see what she sees, because we are allowed to enter into her world, we don't necessarily understand how others play. We don't understand how they go about their day. To us, it is just looking at a bunch of ants wandering around, doing their thing. And we're not sure why they do this or that at a particular moment, because they are a closed system, you see. They're a closed system where they function among themselves in a sort of regimented way, but they don't interact with us. And therefore, for you, it would be like looking at a bunch of rats going about their business and doing their thing. And I'm not saying humans are rats. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the difference is stark as the difference between species on Earth, you see. And that is another duality. At any rate, it took a while until we could coordinate our energy to overcome the difficulties for Stephanie. And to a certain extent, she had to make some changes in her life too. She had to cut down on her obligations to a lot of people on Earth so that she didn't have to be distracted all the time by the demands on her within the world of the fun house, you see. Therefore, she had to calm her energy. And this was a process that took some time, but it brought us together in this way, where we can talk to each other and say, hey, what do you think about this? How do you see it from where you are? So this is another thing that is very important to understand, that from where we are, we see you in a different way than we did when we were on Earth. And we know that. We know that. We know that you can't see us. We know that you can't hear us for the most part. A few get a glimmer, but they also get confused by the images on the wall. That is, they're still in the fun house. And sometimes the images on the wall confuse them so much that they think it's us, or they think that it's the images on the wall when it's us. They can't distinguish, you see. And this causes a lot of complexity about the way they interpret their reality. Because, of course, we're still a part of your reality. We're just a part of your reality that you can't see, like the bats in the attic, you might say, that come out at night and fly around and then go to rest in your attic, and you can't see them. And you don't even know they're there. But this is the story of the glory of God, you see, because God is the membrane that will always be between you and me, between the world you see and the world you are inside of you. God is the membrane, just like you are the membrane between up and down. And so you lay in the way that your Father does. Your Father is God, and there is only one God. However, there are many versions of his children, you see, because they sing different verses in reality. And this has created a lot of chaos in the world you see because of the chaos in your energy as you try to figure it out. Some people say, well, oh my God, I'm God. I am God. No, you're not God, but you are a child of God, and therefore you will live in the world you see as a membrane between you and me. You will reflect upon your experience, you see, and you will say, this is the way it is, this is the way it is, this is the way it is, because you're trying to put it all together. You're trying to put it all back together, because that is the tension. You could say the intention between life, between the polarities or the dualities, and it is inherent in the system of life, you see, because there could be no life without the duality and the Trinity, because the Trinity is always the father of the duality. So love is the father, and the beloved and the lover are the children, you might say. And you might say that the ability to remember the past and to consider the future is a duality, and you are the membrane between the two, you see. You are present, you are the membrane. And the past is always in a certain tension with the future, is it not? And therefore, they pull on each other. They pull on each other. And they pull on you because you are the membrane in between them, you see? And so you say, well, this is the way it is because that's the way it was for you yesterday. And you say, tomorrow it may be different. But if you pull the past into the future and you get them confused, then you will say, the future must be like the past, you see, because one of the dualities is what you can see or what you can remember and what you can't. So for me, there is no future reality that I can remember, because that would be like saying that there was no duality between the past and the future. It would be like saying that it is a singularity. And that is what some people assume life is like when there is no time. But in fact, if the past and the future were one, you see, then they would disappear. There would no longer be a duality. There would just be a singularity, and there would be nothing at all. There would be no past. There would be no future. There would be nothing to see and nothing to unsee. There would be no thing. And this is the dilemma of God, you see, that God must always be trusting on the Trinity, that God is the membrane. Membrane. Please pay attention to that word. Membrane. God is the membrane between you and me. God is the membrane between everything in reality and everything not in reality. God is the membrane. God is the big zero. God is nothing, no thing, and God is the potential of everything. So you might say the future is the potential of everything, and the past is that which has already been reduced to a thing, you see. And so you can look at things from different points of view, because as long as you are true to the God you knew, you will always be able to switch your point of view. Nothing can be everything. East can be west, and west can be east, depending upon where you're standing. See? All of creation is the trust on duality and Trinity. And you might say it is born out of singularity, but you will not be able to remain in the singularity, or that ecstatic moment of connection will grow you back into the sea. I started to tell you about a story what I saw between Steph and Steve. One day they said to each other, we're just reflecting back to each other because if you want to understand this, you should ask Steph about her experiments that she did with her students when they would hold up a ruler to measure each other while they were standing 6 or 10 feet apart, you see, and what they learned from that they each contained the other, and they were contained in the other, you see, in a series of diminishing returns, you might say, because they would be measuring each other as, say, an inch on the ruler, and the inch on the ruler was the limit of which the other one could measure them. You just have to try this and see if it works. It's like standing in front of a series of facing mirrors. And that keeps showing you as you face into the mirror, in the mirror behind you, in a continual series of diminishing returns. And this, of course, is the image that many have of reincarnation. It's always contained within the one before, the series of Russian dolls, you might say. And where are you in that lineup, you see? If it gets smaller, does it also get bigger? That is the question between what you can see and what you cannot see. Now, the two of them said, let's play a game where we will stay connected to the idea that I see you, seeing me, seeing you, seeing me. We're always reflecting each other back and forth. And they began to play this game and reflect each other back and forth so quickly, understanding that each contained the other, that it got faster and faster and faster. And Steph said to me, well, to others, she just said it, uh-oh, we have to be careful here because I don't know if we can stop this. We are going to collide because eventually we must collide if we're going to continue to reflect each other and understand that we are reflecting each other and that I'm seeing you, seeing me, seeing you, seeing me, etc. And she began to get a bit worried. And Steve was impressed that she could be so willing to face eternity because he already understood what would happen, you see, but she didn't. And what happened is that she got worried about what would happen would they disappear into each other. And all of a sudden, it was like they hit a barrier and they were spun around and could no longer continue this experiment, you see. And so she was thrown back into her own reality. And what has happened is this fail-safe system. You could understand this if you understand the mystery of the halves, you see. So that if you're taking a walk for a mile and you plan to go somewhere and you say, I've come half the way, then that means you have a half of the distance still in front of you or a half mile. And if you go continue to walk and you say, well, I've gone half that distance, so now I have a quarter mile in front of me. And you go half that distance and you say, well, now I have an eighth of a mile in front of me. You will never get where you're going. You will never get where you were going. And this is the mystery of life, you see, that you will never get where you are going, but you will always get where you are going. Because you see, there is a gap that is filled by God energy. God energy fills the gap, you see. And so the difference between you and me is God, you see. The difference between me and you is God. That is the gap. And it keeps us from being pushed back together so that we're smushed together into a singularity. There will always be me, and there will always be you, and there will always be the God we knew. This is the Trinity. And so from there on, Stephanie continued to be trusting on the fail-safe system, you see, that God would take care of us because God is a part of the Trinity and God will keep us from imploding, you might say. And this is part of the system of reality that we call life, you see. How you interpret your reality is up to you. No one can do it but you. Because you see, you have nothing better to do than to understand who you are. This is your work in life, you see, to understand who you are. And when you look in the mirror and you see something you don't like, then it's time to get clear about the devil inside of you and learn to be a little more perceptive of how you have projected it outside of you. And when you come home to heaven, you see, then you will be free of the need to find the devil inside of you. Because you see, you'll be returned to the trust on the God inside of you. And this is another duality. So heaven is part of the duality of the earth vibration. Now, what happens when, like Stephanie, you penetrate the mirror and you say, well, I can talk to you today and you can talk to me, Thomas. What happens is that you begin to interpret your reality in a new way. And you begin to say, well, when I am in heaven, I'm on vacation. And I don't have to do anything. I can just lay on the beach and sip margaritas all day. But when I am on earth, I have to play in a different way. And so when you're in heaven, you're on vacation, and then you got to go back to work, you might say, which is your life, where you continue to grow. You continue to change. You continue to do the work of creativity because every day you are recreating yourself in a new way. And when you're in heaven, you just kind of stay in the same vibration. And everybody here is pretty mellow, you see, because we're just a bunch of jello that shakes and conforms to the container, you see. And so we don't really worry about doing any work. It's all play. Unless we want to work, because we think work is play. We love our work, and then we can do that, you see. We just live in our memory, you might say. We live in the culmination of our past because it is a holiday and we don't have to do the work of the future, you see. The future is created on earth. You are creating the future every day in every way. And we could look down and say, well, it looks like the future is going to be such and such because look at the way they're doing it, you see. Look at the way they're doing it. And we can put together what we see in a coherent way, but we can't control you. We do not control you. You are the ones who are creating the future with your little controllers as you play the video game, might say. You're creating the view of the future because when you come here, that will be part of your reality. Whatever you created will come with you. It will come home with you, you see. So all of us know that we will have to go back to Earth, you see. And some of us do not feel any glee when we think about it because we have a devil inside of us that's waiting to show us its face, you see, when we come back to Earth. And we know it because you will always have to receive what you gave. So whatever we gave in our lives before will have to come back to us. And if we didn't give to others the trust that they are a reflection of ourselves, you see, then we'll have to get on the other side of that equation and we'll have to be the ones who live among those who treat us as if we are the enemy. And it's not very appealing to us to give up our vacation and go back to Earth, you see. But we still enjoy our vacation and we try not to think about it too much. But something happens when we are able to connect with someone like Stephanie. And what happens is we are able to interact with you, who are still on Earth, in a way that helps us to be part of the creative process, to help be active in our own future, you see, so that we can learn, because that is part of the future. It is that you become something different than you were, and that is called learning. That is called the way we grow, so that a second grader may have grown in a way that they did not before they completed first grade, you see, when they were just a kindergartner. And so the process of the video game, if you want to call it, or whatever game you call it on Earth, the mirror game, the funhouse game, is to grow, to know who you are. It is to find out who you are. And so when we interact with Stephanie, it helps us find out who we are. Because when we're on vacation, you see, we don't want to think about work. We don't want to have to do all the hard work of growth, you see. We're on our summer vacation. We're not in school. But when we go back to school, we have to take out the textbooks and begin to learn. And if we have a really, really, really good teacher, they'll say, throw your textbooks away so that we can learn, you see. And this is the trust on coming back to wholeness, you see, because you are whole when you can accept the Trinity. When you accept that there is a you, there is a me, and there is a God inside of us. And so between there is a world of capacity for growth, you see. Now, when you're on Earth and you are looking in the fun house mirror, it doesn't mean there isn't anyone else there, because there is. Billions of people trying to work it out. But what it means is that when you look at your brother, you see another, just like you, because you will interpret his actions according to your own point of view. It's how you interpret your interactions that is critical here to your growth. It's how you interpret it, because you will project onto your brother your own image. You see, you will project onto your own brother your own image. And so if you see the devil inside of him, then it is the devil inside of you. If you say, well, you're wrong, you stupid fool, then you are wrong, you stupid fool. Now, if you understand this well, you may dwell in a place where people will say, well, you're the devil today. You're the devil today, because they are recognizing the devil in you, because you show it. You see, you say, here, take a look at the devil inside of me. And they say, oh, well, you're the devil then. And you say, no, I'm not the devil. I simply am revealing to you a part of me that is a part of you, because we are the same, you see. We are the same in our essential nature. We are all a part of the Trinity. There is me, and there is you, and there is the God we knew, because the God we knew is always changing, you see. The God we knew is always changing. I have to tell you that Stephanie has a very, very powerful point of view. And that's why we often are amazed when we talk to her and we say, how did she ever learn to think that way? And it doesn't matter, because she has the capacity to see things in a way that is so clear that it fascinates us here to talk to her. And one of the ways that she explains this is that as you are going about your life, you see, every moment changes you. Every moment changes you, because you're no longer the same, because you are the culmination of everything you say and do. Many lifetimes of it. It is true. And so if you say, well, I understand this today, I understand life today, I understand, therefore, myself today, then you don't understand yourself, because you see, you can't stand under yourself. You cannot stand under yourself and understand yourself. You will change yourself every time you get a new point of view. And therefore, if you say, well, I understand things today that I didn't understand yesterday, then you're not the same as you were yesterday. You are something new. And so you have to figure out who you are again. You have to figure out who this is that understands today what they didn't understand yesterday. And it is something new. It is like saying that you get a new point of view and you, therefore, open a new reality. And now you got to understand the new reality. That is the you that knows something new. And so you can never catch up with yourself, you see. You can never catch up with yourself. You will always be a step behind in order to find out who you are. And this is the nature of life, that you will never arrive. You will just keep going halfway, you see. You'll never arrive at your destination. And yet you will, because you see, the moment you understand who you are, you have arrived. And then you will go back into the abyss, you might say, because the abyss is the kiss of death. The abyss is the kiss of death that says, now that I understand myself, the game's up. It's all over. Nothing to do. I'm dead, you see. And then you'll come to see that you are a new reality, because the abyss is the God that stands between today and yesterday, that stands between the you used to be and the you became, you see. And so you fall into the God membrane, where you will come to see that there's a new reality, and you are in it, you see. You are in the new reality, and that is the way it works. So if you have any questions of me, put them in the comments, you see, and I will listen to them, and I will tell you what I think about it. And if you want to tell me what you think, and we can think together, you see. And then, as Alan says, thinking will happen. There will be thinking. And that's okay with me, because whether I'm the thought or the thinker, it's all the same. As I think, therefore am I. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to laugh, Thomas, because people don't know that you were Descartes. Yes, that was part of my history and a part of my memory. It is a part of my past. But I am the last to say, I know the way. I don't know the way until I can travel it, you see. And therefore, if you wish to travel with me, hold my hand and say, hey, Thomas, be my friend, and I will be yours today. Thank you, Thomas.